Good morning. It's Sunday, May 31st, and we're going to continue our discussion on action with an idea that I found entirely too entertaining and hopefully you get a kick out of too. And it begins with a prompt from the Daily Stoic, which reads, "If my vocation is to be a good person, am I doing a good job?" This prompt comes from a reminder that Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself. That when I first read it, it immediately recalled another classical leader. And now I can't stop laughing about that juxtaposition, but I'll get back to it in a second. Now, Marcus asks himself, "What is your vocation?" To which he responds, "To be a good person." Now, in my mind's eye, there are a lot of similarities between how I've recreated Marcus Aurelius and the 5th century BC warrior king Leonidas, who led tiny Sparta to defend Greece against a much larger Persian invading army at the Battle of Thermopylae. And there's a scene in the fictional movie 300 in which the 300 Spartan soldiers are on their way to battle and they encounter a much larger group of allies in the Arcadian army. And the leader of the Arcadians is surprised at Leonidas' small force, and he suggests that Sparta doesn't seem very committed to the war. In response, Leonidas asks several of the Arcadian soldiers, "What is your profession?" To which the first replies, "A potter." And the second one says, "A sculptor." And then finally, one says, "A blacksmith." And the last response brings a huge smirk to Leonidas' face, and he turns around and he faces his army. And with a huge guttural roar, he says, "Spartans, what is your profession?" And in unison, the army cries out, "Ow, ow, ow." Satisfied, Leonidas turns back and looks at the Arcadian leader and says, "See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did." Now, while the Arcadians had more people, the Spartans had more people who knew what they were doing and were more committed to the cause. And now I can't stop picturing that scene when Leonidas asks, "Spartans, what is your profession?" If the army had instead chosen Marcus's response and responded emphatically, "To be a good person." Imagine the look on the Arcadians' faces in that situation. But that is effectively what Marcus is saying here, by choosing the word vocation instead of profession. And while both can refer to your occupation, a vocation describes something that one was particularly suited to do, a calling in life. It's not just a way to spend or occupy our time, but rather something inside of us with deeper roots and a more intense passion. So back to today's prompt of, if my vocation is being a good person, am I doing a good job? I guess that my response would be the same as for any profession. I'm still learning and working to hone my craft. I know what are the most important areas for me to focus on, those being family, friends, community, health and fitness, personal improvement, and career. And I know that I still have gaps in each of those areas that I need to fill. But I also recognize that I've made real progress in how I handle myself, make decisions, and take actions with respect to each one of those areas. And that's kind of right where I want to be. A vocation shouldn't be a temporary assignment. It needs to be a lifetime commitment. So I've got time to continue working on this, putting the pieces together, surrounding myself with the right soldiers also committed to the cause, just like the Spartans. However, just because I have plenty of time to work on this vocation, it doesn't mean that I sit idly and wait for the right time to get started with my training. That's why we do the work. That's why we seek out the wisdom of others. That's why we set our goals and act with intention. That's why we hold ourselves accountable and look to continually keep improving our performance and our mastery of our vocation, which ultimately is to be a good person. Hope you found that useful and entertaining like I did. Have a great Sunday. Bye.